chemistry doesn't fade. When they tell you the chemistry fades over time when you're with your partner, no, it doesn't. So it doesn't fade because even if the relationship is toxic, even if you guys don't see each other for a long time, you'll still crave that person. You'll still, when you see that person, you'll still feel the same way that you felt before. Like, I'll give you an example for me. There was a person that I was seeing that a long time ago that I had really intense chemistry with, and we were compatible in a lot of ways. We were vulnerable with each other, we had fun together, we were laughing, all of these things. However, in terms of our values and what we wanted for the future, commitment, kids, marriage, all of these things, we didn't align in that sense. And I knew that from day one that that person didn't align with me. But because of the chemistry, I chose to pursue it. So after numerous heartbreaks and feeling hurt by this person, I chose to leave the situation and not look back. And we went our separate ways. We didn't talk to each other for 10 years. And then 10 years later, we connected back again. And when we saw each other, the chemistry was still there. It was still intense. We were still vulnerable with each other, all of these things. But again, our values still didn't align. They didn't want the same things. So when we stopped talking, because our values didn't align, then it hurt a little bit, but it didn't hurt like 10 years ago when I thought this was be all end all. It was more so that, oh, I accepted it, that our values don't align. We don't want the same thing. This can never work. Even though we feel chemistry toward each other, it doesn't have longevity. So it's like you can feel chemistry towards someone, but when you understand that the full compatibility is not there, you can let go. So I moved on and I started aligning with more people that I had chemistry with, but right away I was getting to know them and saw that this has no longevity towards it. This person is not going to be committed, and all of these things I could just tell right away. I didn't need to discover a lot about the person to know that it was either a green flag or a red flag, so I didn't have to waste time pursuing it. But when you do meet someone that you have chemistry and compatibility with, and their values and their way of life and everything, like who they are as a person, the conversations that you have, the intellectual capacity, that they're aligned with your intellect, and that there's just unconditional love and understanding, then those are harder to let go, because then the chemistry and the compatibility align. But if you're not healed and you haven't done your healing, and the other person has trauma that they just got out of, like both of you guys just got out of a traumatic situation, then you ruin the relationship because you haven't worked on yourself or what you need to work on. It's like you jumped in with 2 feet from 0 to 100, and you hadn't healed from the past situation that you just got out of. You haven't taken the time to really process everything you just experienced and deal with childhood trauma as well. So it's like when you don't do those things and both parties don't do those things, then when arguments happen, it feels heated, and both parties don't know how to communicate effectively because their trauma, their armor is coming up. It's like the right person at the wrong time, and you feel guilt and regret, and you replay over in your head and overthink how you should have reacted in that situation. Why did you react like that? What was triggering you to be so emotionally reactive instead of just thinking it through and taking a step back? And then you start to take the time to be like, everything happens for a reason, because at the end of the day, leaving that situation, you've grown so much and learned so much. So it's like it triggered you to want to be better, to do better, to just, want better for your life and want better for yourself and become the best version of yourself. Whereas if you didn't go through that, if you didn't experience that chemistry and compatibility, you wouldn't know what that was. You would still be picking people based on compatibility or just chemistry. But when you know that both exist, then you're like, okay, I want to be better for the next person that comes into my life. And you want to be better for yourself so that you're peaceful. Like, nothing is beyond repair. Everything can be repaired as long as people are honest and vulnerable with each other and have healed their trauma. If that's the case, then trust can be built again, and people can have compassion for one another and all of these things. But it all matters on whether people are able to be truthful, vulnerable, and heal their trauma. So break free from the brainwashing of society. If you keep attracting karmic toxic relationships, start to look inward to what you need to learn, what's the lesson that's being presented in front of you, and really to save yourself from continuing to enter into karmic relationship, focus on building a friendship with someone to see if you have that compatibility, and making sure that if you take it to the next step, the chemistry is there. The chemistry was there from the start. The moment you looked into each other's eye, you felt that intense burning. So again, don't settle for compatibility because you'll be unhappy. And don't just go after chemistry because you'll end up feeling the pain of it after. Just make sure that you take your time, have patience, and don't just want a relationship don't just be in a relationship because you want to be in a relationship and you don't want to be alone. No, be patient, work on yourself, and you'll attract in someone who you have chemistry and compatibility with. You have to use your discernment.